Good morning. My name is Ana Cristina Antunes. I'm from School of Communication and Media Studies from the Polytechnic Institute of Lisbon in Portugal, and I'm presenting to you this communication entitled Advertising and Gambling in the Digital Age, Insights and Trends. Also on behalf of my co-author Ana Rita Farias from HeyLab da Universidade Lusófona in Portugal. So, our objectives with this communication is to provide some insights on the relationship between gambling advertising and gamblers' attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors, and to examine the main trends of research within these areas. So, we know that digital systems have been changing in the last years, and this has allowed the rise of new and diversified online activities like online gambling. We know that gambling has been changing over time and continues to do so in this digital age. And new forms and new platforms of online gambling are arising and multiplying. That is, this internet evolution has been transforming this gambling industry. And right now, the number of online gamblers is also rising. And according to Statista, in 2023, the worldwide online gambling business will be worth more than $92.9 billion. So, gambling is usually associated and is recognized as the source of serious and unevenly distributed harm. There are numerous negative consequences for individuals, for its physical, for its mental, for its financial health, but also for families, for communities, or even for society. But online gambling is potentially more harmful because its nature makes it more problematic and more pervasive due to the ease of access every time and everywhere, because of the diversity of gambling platforms that have arisen, and the persuasive technology strategies that are used, but also because online gambling targets mainly young people, and this is a very vulnerable segment. Most studies show that a sizable percentage of young people gamble right now, with problem gambling prevalence rates that are significantly higher than adults. So let's look at some insights regarding gambling advertising. We already said that there has been a rapid evolution of advertising forms, namely online, with these new platforms and new forms of gambling that have arisen in the last years and will continue to do so in the next years. But also, there has been an intensification of advertising for online gambling that is highly targeted and has become increasingly sophisticated in recent years. And online, some contents are difficult to identify as gambling advertising. On what comes to research, we can notice that this is a fragmented field of research. There is still much empirical evidence, but it lacks cohesion. We can get a full picture of what's happening in this field from the research. And there is a limited knowledge on the role and effects of the most recent forms of gambling advertising, that is, on social media or even advertising on live streaming platforms, or even use of streamers, for instance, as a marketing strategy from gambling. So let's look a little about the targeted groups for gambling advertiser. Gambling advertising appears to impact all types of gamblers, but one must pay a particular attention to two more vulnerable groups. There is a group that is targeted especially by gambling advertising, especially when we are talking online, that's young people, and also problem with people with problem gambling or in a higher risk of gambling. And this is a problem because digital marketing strategies focus on vulnerable populations, including young people and problem or at risk gamblers. When we look at the trends, we see mainly two strands of research in this area. One that has been examining the impact of gambling advertising on gamblers and on the general public. That is one that focuses on the effects of gambling advertising, and the second that examines the content of the advertisements itself. So, primarily, we look at the effects of gambling advertising. And gambling advertising exposure has been associated with several negative consequences for individuals. For instance, a higher gambling engagement, also more positive attitudes towards gambling, and in the increased gambling intention, also leading to more frequent gambling behavior and increasing gambling risk or problem gambling, even leading to gambling addiction. It also makes individuals more prone to a more impulsive and more and a riskier betting. On adolescents, several studies have already found evidence that specific types of appeal strategies, namely within sports betting promotions, reduce the perceived risk that is associated with engaging in gambling, leading adolescents to gamble. Also, celebrity endorsement of sports betting companies may increase their perceptions of trust, according to a study by Pitt and his colleagues. Um, According to Devorensky and his colleagues' study, 40% of young people stated they wanted to try gambling after seeing gambling advertisements. So it seems that exposure to gambling advertisings for adolescents can lead them more prone to gambling, to adopt gambling behaviors. On problem gamblers, there's a series of negative consequences for being exposed to gambling ads. They show more sensitivity and they perceive themselves to be more exposed to this kind of advertisements, and advertising, gambling advertising for them seems to trigger thoughts about gambling, triggers an increased intention to gamble, but also leads to actual gambling and increases risk taking during gambling. And problem gamblers find specially alluring request to bet ads that are designed to nudge gamblers through multiple channels toward bets with large potential payoffs. Regarding the types of advertising and effects, we can see that this has been so far scantily researched. So, in here, it's a field that warrants more research. For instance, research in social media gambling advertising is just beginning, according to Ross and his colleagues. But Siversen et al. Already found evidence that internet advertising predicts the advertising impact on gambling involvement, and TV advertising predicts advertising impact on knowledge of gambling forms and operators, as well as a higher awareness of gambling. Advertising emails, on the other hand, are positively related with increasing betting intention, while receiving text messages seems to be associated with an increased betting likelihood, but also with the size of the bets, increasing the size of the bets. Finally, we look at the second strand, that is, that has been examining gambling advertisement contents. And studies have so far found common themes. One is that gambling is usually portrayed in a positive manner, sometimes in a glamorous light, and the other times as an exciting activity for individuals to perform. Alternatively, gambling has also been portrayed as a normal activity, almost as if it was a leisure activity for individuals. Regarding contents of this type of ads, we also usually find financial incentives, as well as the ease of use, ease of winning, and accessibility that are highlighted, usually by demonstration of other individuals presented as gamblers. Also, ads present odds-related contents, frequently promoting complex bets, and portray a sexualized imagery and a gendered framing of content that is often segmented towards young men because they are the most heavy gamblers. This is the gender that usually gambles the most. Gambling ads contents also reveal a significant lack of responsible gambling and harm reduction messaging. And this is important because this type of messages usually have an impact on the adoption of more responsible gambling behaviors. So, I would like to thank you all for your attention. And if you have any comments or any questions or any doubts, please put them in the section in the platform, or please email us by the emails that you see in here. You can use either my email, antunes.esques.ipl, or my colleague, Ana Rita Farias, @gmail.com. Thank you all.